Hey everyone, I am back with another video for the series called Jealousy Towards attractive dark-skinned African women. And today's video is going to be focusing on two prominent dark-skinned women, African women from South Sudan, and their names are Anok Yai and Adut Akech. So, these women, as I said, they are from South Sudan. They're beautiful. They belong to the ethno-linguistic group called the Nilots or the Nilo-Saharan family group in Africa. And whenever there is discord about, again, what we've been talking about for the past couple of videos, beauty politics, representation for dark-skinned women, especially dark-skinned Black women, their names keep on propping up, and they get mentioned quite a bit, and to the point that people write threads upon threads on Twitter as to why they benefit from featurism, and how the modeling industry prefer picking dark-skinned women with a particular type of look, specifically dark-skinned African women, in comparison to picking Black women who are from the West, for instance, in the Americas. So I wanted to discuss this because there was also a video on YouTube done by Chrissy, and she touched on this, and she was talking about how African American women are essentially being misrepresented, and modeling industries, especially mainstream media, when they want to represent dark-skinned women, they don't pick the African American women, the Black American women. Rather, they pick the African women. So I want to talk about it because although I do understand where she comes from with this point, I also feel like there's a slippery slope between acknowledging that some people are more favored than others, and then using that to essentially discredit the hard work and the struggles that these women who are supposedly being favored over other groups of women that they experience. Like with the South Sudanese people in general, I think a lot of people have come to be more exposed to different communities in Africa and how they differ in looks. And typically, they tend to be pretty tall. They have long limbs. Their features are pretty diverse. So not every South Sudanese person have small and keen features. Some of them have more broader features that you would be able to associate with other communities around Africa, sometimes even West Africa and Central Africa as well. And they also are known for having, I think it's the darkest skin tones in the world. And as well as they are a big part of their culture is that they are cattle keepers, and they drink a lot of milk as a result of that. So all these characteristics, these physical attributes that they have, you can all boil it down to adaptation to their environment. So in South Sudan, it tends to be, if I'm not mistaken, typically dry, a bit more arid areas. I know that there's quite fertile soil over there, so I wouldn't say like it's that dry, but it's really warm there because of course it's pretty close to the equator. Um, so again, their features are a result of evolution, right? And so when we're talking about featurism, we need to be really careful because um, these women, I don't believe either of these women benefit from featurism. And I don't think that to chalk up their success to just pure featurism or for them looking exotic, and I say exotic with quotation marks, is honestly, I think, is dishonest because the modeling industry has never been inclusive. It's always been exclusive and it was created to be exclusive, right? You are talking about um, people who are showcasing their designs that can cost up to like hundreds, thousands of dollars. And, we know that the average person cannot afford to pay that much money. So already from the get-go, you already know that there's a level, there are some barriers to entry. So it's only certain people can get in. And whilst the rest have to just remain outside. So, and I understand that in the modeling industry, they're trying to be a bit more inclusive by including people who are of shorter stature, who are more curvier, as well as who are not your typical small sizes. They're trying to include more mid-sized people and larger people in general. However, when you look at them, they still have to meet specific criteria, whether it's their facial features, whether it's their body shape, they are still essentially scrutinized for their looks. And that is how the modeling industry is. Like there are specific requirements that they want, and whoever wants to be a model has to meet those requirements because you're showcasing these people's designs, fashion designs and clothes. So they have in mind, the designers have in mind what the person would look like when wearing their clothes. And essentially, like I said, it will, although it's making strides, like I said, to become more inclusive, in my opinion, the modeling industry will never be 100% inclusive. Because if that was the case, then anybody could be a model. Anybody could be a model and it wouldn't be that big of a deal. But that's not the case. And with the likes of Inokiai and Aduk Takech, they happened to fit the criteria that these modeling agencies were looking for, and we can't get mad about that. And I find it funny how these talks of them looking Eurocentric, again, quotation marks, their smaller features, quotation marks, always prop up whenever it's dark-skinned women, especially dark-skinned, unambiguous women. Because if we're being honest, realistically speaking, every model has to meet a certain criteria, like I said, and they must have certain features that many other people don't have, but they have those features, hence why they were picked. And this is across the board, like across races, across ethnicities. It's just that it just happens that some people have the features that these modeling agencies are looking for. But whenever it's a dark-skinned black woman, people, it's like they just throw up massive tantrums. And they say the only reason why we see her as beautiful and we deem these women as beautiful is because of their features. So essentially, they're saying, had they not have these features, they wouldn't be classed as beautiful. And I just think that's problematic because why can't you just say that the woman is beautiful? Why can't you just compliment her? These are the features of her ancestors. Your ancestors don't look the same as hers. Okay, that's fine. But that doesn't take away from their beauty. And just because they have been successful in the modeling industry that is very Western dominated does not mean that they had to somehow try to make themselves look more palatable to appease the Western audience. So these the 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 modeling industry, they just happen to exist in their natural form and they were picked. That's literally it. And I think that, again, there's a lot of ignorance and there's so much nuance as well. But one thing I implore people to understand is that you're knocking on someone's hustle. And you remember, these women are humans. They have families, they have friends, they have aspirations. And some models, and we all know, anyone who, has a mere interest in the modeling industry and models in general, know that it's not uncommon for models to get exploited, um, especially for African women as well. A lot of them, you know, we hear stories of them getting scouted whilst they were in refugee camps. They're taken to America and, they're given modeling contracts, and sometimes they don't even get paid the amount that they should have been paid, or some of them don't get paid at all. So, really and truly, when you are exhibiting this type of jealousy, understand what you're being jealous of. Because if you dig deeper, you would understand that there is a struggle to this, there is a strive to this, and not everything is chalked up to be about just featurism and just the surface level of what you just see. And if you want representation of your people, I always say you need to make it, because you can't seek validation from people who do not prioritize you, that do not see you as a priority. You need to see yourself as a priority, hence why you need to make your own representation. You need to um, show and put out what you want to see. And slowly but surely, other people will be interested in what you're putting out and they will be more drawn and intrigued to see what you're all about and what your endeavor is about. And you'll amass a following over time.
That's how things go. So, you know, this is an example of how attractive women across the board, across races, across whether you're mixed, whether you are of Polynesian, whatever the case may be, attractive women, pretty women have a lot of admirers, but then also a lot of haters. And it's something that attractive dark-skinned black women need to understand. But I guess I would say attractive dark-skinned people in general, regardless of what, group you're part of. You need to be really cautious about when people use that type of rhetoric. Oh, you're only attractive because of your nose, or you're only attractive because of your hair, you're only attractive because you have small, keen features. You know, these people, again, they cannot fathom that the whole package, which is you, your natural self, is deemed attractive. They just, it's like, it's their humbling tactic to essentially say, look, you are dark skinned, you are not meant to be valued highly. Let me put you back into your place. Just because you got a little compliment doesn't mean that all of a sudden now you are attractive and you can see yourself as attractive. That is essentially what I think is the internal dialogue that these jealous people are having when they spew that type of rubbish. And I think a lot of people are finding it hard to come to the terms with there are always going to be attractive people, and there are always going to be less attractive people. There are going to be people who are going to be more attractive than you, and there are going to be people who are going to be less attractive than you. That is life. That is life. Does that mean that you are less worthy or more worthy than the next human being? Absolutely not. Because your value, your intrinsic value, is not tied to how you look like. Absolutely not. So, and then I also want to say that these women, like I said, Adutsa and Enochiai, they're obviously using their looks. Their looks are what brings in the money. And you can't get mad at these women for using what they have naturally, using it to their advantage to
move up the ranks, but also to essentially provide for themselves. I also want to add, don't you realize that you are essentially, by saying that these women are Eurocentric, you're essentially attributing their beauty to them looking European, to them looking like white people. You are putting Europeans and the likes on a pedestal by making them the face of or the definition of beauty. And we know that is what is in the West, but you personally, you are basically saying that that is your standard of beauty. And anybody who is deemed as beautiful, the reason being, the only sole reason is because of them looking somehow like they have a semblance to Europeans. And mind you, Europeans themselves don't even meet the European beauty standards. Not every European meets the European beauty standards. There are many different European groups within Europe, or let's say white groups, because it's more general that way. So it can encompass all the quote unquote white communities around the world. Not all of them fit the Western beauty standards. There are European people, European descendant people who do not have a slim nose. There are European people who do not have a small frame, like the frame that is desired. Neither do they have the hair color that is the most desired, like the blonde hair color. So what you really need to think about, to anyone who thinks like what I just described, is why are you putting a group of people as and using them as your standard of beauty? Why can you not put your group of people, your own group, as standard of beauty? Because it doesn't really matter about well, let's say it partially matters about what the general standard of beauty is based on the society that you live in, but how you see yourself is really linked to how you view other people within your community. And if you don't see them as worthy enough to be the standard, you know, of your beauty, or, you know, you don't see your features and everyone else who has features like yours as worthy to be seen as beautiful, then that's essentially you're going down a road of self-hatred and all the bad things that comes with it. So again, be careful about your wedding, be careful about things that you think, and really just ponder on what you're about to say or have already said, because a lot of people just say things without thinking. But yeah, so thank you so much for listening, and I hope you have a lovely day.